On my latest meme? Yeah, that one. A fan and talented creator Spice Lemon commented, "Is there an any percent coconut speedrun of Paper Mario?" Presumably as a joke. But what if it wasn't a joke? Today, we're going to be doing what I do best, taking jokes absolutely too far. I have no idea who even wants to see this, but we're doing it. Before we get into the whole coconut thing, let's dive into what the coconut item is and what it really does. For those of you who don't know, the coconut is an item you can find in Yoshis Village after hitting this tree. When used in battle, you can actually throw the coconut at an enemy to deal 3 damage, and that's all it does. You can use it in a few key recipes, which I'll show on the screen, but they won't have any use in this video. So, now that you know what's going on, we're going to establish the rules of this challenge. First rule, coconuts are going to be the only source of damage against enemies. This means no jumping, no hammer, no starstorm, and the only item we can use to do damage to our enemies is the coconut. Rule number 2, partner abilities and star spirits can be used to help Mario, but not deal damage to the opponent. There are only a few abilities that don't damage opponents, and they are as follows. For partners, we have Goombario's Tattle, Bo's Out of Sight, Watt's Turbocharge, Sushi's Water Block, and Lackalester's Cloud 9. Tattle will be useful to help us see the boss's HP. As for Turbocharge, Mario's attack boosts don't actually make the coconut do any more damage, so that's out too. For star spirits, we can use Refresh, Lullaby, Chill Out, Smooch, and Timeout. I won't be using Up and Away or Starstorm since they have the ability to defeat enemies, so this is what we're working with here. Moving on to rule number 3, any badges that cause damage or affect other enemies in any way are also banned. This includes the obvious ones like Mega Smash and Power Bounce, but also badges like Zap Tap and Dizzy Attack. Power boosting badges like Power Plus don't even affect the coconut's damage in any way. Final rule, and arguably most important, there will be enemies I cannot defeat under normal circumstances, since I can only hold 10 coconuts. Using 10 coconuts at 3 damage each limits us to only 30 damage in any given fight. However, to fix this, for every boss with over 30 HP, I will be activating a code that gives me unlimited coconuts to use, so I can deal enough damage to take everyone out. For the bosses that I can take out without the code, I'll only use the standard inventory. With all of that out of the way, let's start our run. So, when's the earliest we can even get coconuts anyway? The coconut tree in Yoshi Village isn't even accessible until Chapter 5. Luckily, we can use a few glitches to reach Yoshi's Village crazy early, so we will be using those in this run. We won't be able to use these tricks until after we get Bombette, so Prologue bosses like Junior Troopa, the Goomba Bros, and the Goomba King will all need our special code activated to defeat them. The first couple boss fights in this game are very easy, and honestly, even easier than it would be playing the game normally. All it takes is 2 coconuts to defeat Junior Troopa, 2 for Blue Goomba, 3 for Red Goomba, and 6 for the whole King Goomba fight. I noticed you can't actually throw a coconut at the tree to knock the Goomnuts off the branches, but even still this turned out to be quite an easy fight. The game's gonna run pretty smoothly until we reach the Koopa Bros Fortress, in which we need to get Bombette. Once you get her, we make a beeline straight back to Toad Town. Now that we have her, it's time to make our way to the coconut tree in Yoshi's Village. But that's all the way in Chapter 5. How are we gonna get there before even finishing the first chapter? I'm glad you asked, hypothetical viewer. Using a few complicated glitches, we can access the pipe to Yoshi's Village very quickly. For starters, if we try to go south from the main part of town, a big pile of fallen wood blocks Mario from progressing any further. However, if you go to the badge shop, push over this rug, full jump twice, and hammer here, you will be able to clip behind the shop. Next, using precise angles and frame-perfect movement, you can use a trick known as loading zone storage to skew the angle that Mario enters a loading zone, causing him to load into the next scene out of bounds and appear right in front of the fallen logs that were in our way before. Special thanks to RobDog, GigaDB, and Anatomyz for finding this trick. Once we've gotten past the logs, you'll be headed right here to this infamous blue house to the west. It's currently locked from the inside, but we can use another glitch that was incredibly hard to pull off to gain access to Yoshi's Village. All we have to do is line up against the right side of this house, perform a spin in place to avoid accidentally speaking with this toad, Do a full jump to the left, landing on this extremely small piece of collision on the side of the house. There's a 1 frame window where you can input a jump once again. This time you want the neutral jump. Wait a couple frames, and then hold up and to the right to reach the next piece of collision. Once you've made it there, jump back to the left, and you will fall through the roof and inside of the house, without even needing the key. A huge thank you to Bonecrusher for discovering this trick. Once you're inside, we can pick up the odd key in the top left corner of the room. You really can't see in here, so you kind of just have to feel your way around, but you'll eventually get it. And we're not going to use it to unlock this door just yet, and I'll explain why later. Now that we're here, we have to blow up this wall right next to Rip Cheeto and fight a blooper in order to get to Yoshis Village. Unfortunately, we're going to need to use our coconut code once again to remove him. Once he's gone, the pipe to Yoshis Village will appear. We hop in, and yay, coconuts! I'll grab a full inventory and prepare for the next step. Chapter 1's boss, the Koopa Bros, have 2 phases. The first phase has 10 HP, and they're piloting a large mech suit. This phase is pretty simple. Just chuck 4 coconuts at him and he's done for. After that, the brothers will emerge from the suit and battle you themselves. Now, these guys gave me a lot more trouble than you might think. You wanna know why? It's because when they're stacked up, they actually take 2 consecutive hits to knock them over before they can take any damage at all. And of course, I can't use 2 coconuts to knock them over before the turn is over, and they gain their balance back at the end of every turn. Well, here's what you might be thinking next. Couldn't you just use double dip to hit them with 2 coconuts?
He got hit bad with 2 coconuts!
In order to obtain the double dip badge, you must retrieve it from the shop after finishing Chapter 2. Okay, so why don't we just trigger Chapter 5 using our blue house skip, grab the double dip, and then head back to the boss? So what gives? Where's the boss? I came all the way here just to find out he's not here? As it turns out, once you've triggered Chapter 5, there is almost no way to go back to Chapter 1. And what's the only known method to bring the game to a state before Chapter 1? It's an extremely complicated trick known as Retrigger Prologue, which involves obtaining 32 key items using a variety of obtained tricks and glitches. After doing a mountain of research on the subject, I decided to test if this double dip strategy would even work. Guess what? It didn't even work anyway! As you can tell, throwing 2 coconuts at the Koopa Bros doesn't even knock them over. I don't even know why this is a thing. Much to my dismay, we're gonna have to use Bombette to push over the Koopa stack so we can start dealing damage. Technically, she's not damaging them anyway, so that's okay. As luck would have it, we are exactly 2 coconuts short of defeating this boss, so with the help of our coconut code, we'll be able to finish them off. Off to a pretty rough start now, huh? Okay, now we're on to Chapter 2. Everything's normal so far, and we have 1 quick mini-boss to tackle along the way. On our way back, we run into some kid we've definitely never met before, and throw a couple coconuts at him to teach him a lesson. And now we've reached Chapter 2's boss, Tootin' Koopa. You'll see this is the only chapter boss we can actually defeat with 10 coconuts, since he sits at a total of 30 HP on the dot. We'll have to rely on our refresh ability to survive the fight, but other than that, we finish him off pretty easily. For every chapter boss from here on out, we will be using the code to generate infinite coconuts, since their HP will exceed 30. The next real boss we encounter in this run is Tubba's Heart in Chapter 3, which will require us to use the coconut code once again. Using Bow to dodge the especially dangerous attacks and Refresh to keep us healthy, we can use our coconuts to breathe through this fight. We might as well use the double dip badge we snagged from those glitches we pulled off too. We haven't needed to use our FP until now, so I'm glad I leveled it up for this occasion. After the heart is a quick fight with the big man himself, Tubba Blubba. This fight is interesting since he only has 10 HP. However, I may have gotten myself into a bit of trouble, and only have 3 HP to do this fight. Using the power of RNG, quote unquote, I skillfully dodged the big guy's attacks with Close Call and bonk him 4 more times to take him out. Now that Chapter 3 is over, we head back to Forever Forest and meet up with Junior Troopa for a rematch. After humiliating him once again, we can make our way to start Chapter 4. Alright, next stop, Shy Guy's Toy Box. Here we hit our first roadblock at the Big Lantern Ghost. Since Bow's smack technically doesn't damage the lantern, we're going to use it in this case to lighten up the room and allow Mario to throw coconuts. Other than that, this fight is a piece of cake. Now that we have Watt, we can reach General Guy and his army of Shy Guys. This fight is extremely difficult, but manageable. The saving grace here is that the coconut actually pierces defenses and will always deal 3 damage to the opponent, meaning that tough tank exterior is no match for our coconuts. After using up a lot of FP and HP, and maybe getting lucky 3 times, we can just barely squeeze our way out of Chapter 4. I promise I'm not going to make this RNG thing a habit. Chapter 5 takes us to Lava Lava Island. But first, we need to befriend a whale, beat up a little fuzzipede, and journey all the way across the sea to reach the island. Or I could just jump through the roof and skip all that. However, before we take on Lava Piranha, we need to prepare a little bit. First up, we have to pick up the Last Stand badge that we received from the Peach cutscene in Chapter 4. There's a Defend Plus badge in Shy Guy's toy box we can take advantage of, as well as this Fire Shield badge in the volcano to help us take less damage from Lava Piranha's fire attacks. Once we start this fight, it's pretty important to use Sushi's water block to avoid taking even more unnecessary damage. As you can see, with the help of all of our prep work, we're barely taking any damage on this first phase. After a long bout of throwing coconuts, we move on to phase 2, where the only thing that changes for us is a little bit of a damage boost. However, we can avoid this by using Chill Out to make Lava Piranha even less threatening than before. We'll still take some damage, but it's nothing Refresh won't fix. After a couple more coconuts, he's out of there. Chapter 5, not too shabby. After Lava Piranha, we come back to Toad Town and meet up with Junior Troopa, who swam across the entire ocean just to get his revenge. Joke's on him though, since he's only got 20 HP left to fight us. That means we don't even need 10 coconuts to send him packing. Unfortunately, what's coming up next isn't going to be so forgiving. Chapter 6's boss, Huff and Puff, was an absolute nightmare. A fight that took me over 40 minutes to complete, but here's how I did it. I needed to use Chill Out as much as I could to keep Huff and Puff or his minions from dealing damage. The problem? Half the damage I dealt was just getting healed right back, since he can swallow all of the minions that spawn when he takes damage. Normally, you can use multi-hitting moves like Parakarry's Air Raid, Lackluster's Spiny Surge, or items such as Fire Flowers, Snowman Dolls, Thunder Rage, or Shooting Stars. However, of course we can't use any of those, right? So what do? Luckily for us, Huff and Puff caps out at 10 minions, meaning if we can deal more than 10 damage before he has the chance to heal it all back, then we can start to put a dent in his armor. And that's exactly what we did. Slowly and agonizingly, we chip him down little by little until he reaches low HP. In a fit of desperation, he does an attack I've honestly never seen before until I made this video, an attack that hit me for a whole 14 damage, and even finished me off a couple times before this successful run. Needless to say, I was heartbroken just getting that far just to lose. But with enough determination and preemptive healing, we managed to tank the hit and finally win. I'm so glad that's over. After Chapter 6, we take a hike to Shiver City, and on our way to the mountain, we run into Junior Troopa again. He had a considerable power up this time, but all we have to do is make sure Chill Out is on him at all times and we should have no trouble bonking him down to 0. Chapter 7's fight with the Crystal King was surprisingly easier than I expected. Using Chill Out will render the attacks in his first phase completely useless, so you can get a few free throws in on him. The good news is that even when he respawns his crystals, they don't have their attack dropped, but their attack isn't calculated when dealing damage, only the Crystal King's attack. So for these, we'll still take 0. His next phase splits him up into 3 different parts, while only one of them is the real Crystal King. While this phase can be annoying, it was no trouble at all. Just keep throwing till you find the right one, and then hammer away at him until he splits up again. He does have the ability to heal himself during this fight, but we got lucky, and he only did it once. Just keep attacking and he'll be gone before you know it. Finally, we're here at Chapter 8. Didn't take that long, did it? We start off with one final junior troopa fight before the big boss. Same as before, get his attack loaded with chill out and he's pretty easy. Alright, we are so close. Before we take on the final battle, let's pick up a couple more badges to make sure we're ready. These are going to be the Damage Dodge badge on Mount Rugged, the Triple Dip and P Down D Up badges in the Crystal Palace. Remember, any damage boosting or lowering badges will not have any effect on the Coconut's damage, so we can take full advantage of that defense boost at no cost. And now that that's done, we're finally at Bowser. Bowser has 3 separate phases if you include the fight in the hallway of the castle, which we're taking on right now. This fight is honestly really easy and there's not much to say here. Just make sure you don't get hit by Bowser's ring attack so your partners can stick around to protect you, and you should cruise through this phase. After you beat him, we head up to the roof of the castle, our final stop. The first phase is really quick and it's hardly worth mentioning. It's always scripted to be 3 turns, and he turns invincible on his second turn. After that, it's all about making sure you don't let him stay invincible for long, or else he can deal a lot of damage. As you can see here, I made a bit of a mistake and used Out of Sight on the same turn that Bowser turned invincible, so I was unable to dodge his next attack, but I had enough HP to survive it thanks to Smooch. And he's left with 9 HP here, which is perfect since we've got Triple Dip now, enough to do perfectly 9 damage and finish the job. And that's that! We've finally answered the question, can you beat Paper Mario with only coconuts? Well, kind of. This video took me an unbelievably long time to put together, and I appreciate you guys for being patient with me during this long wait. Regularly scheduled uploads will be back in full swing, and if you'd like to see more stuff like this, please let me know in the comments. Just keep in mind, larger projects like this may be on a weekly upload basis rather than the memes I post daily. So with that in mind, I appreciate you coming to the video, and I would really appreciate a like and a subscription to the channel. You're more than welcome to change your mind at any point in time, but every subscription matters, even yours. We're officially on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I hope I will have your continued support. Please also consider joining my Discord server, which I'll link in the description as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks so much again for watching.